Hi, this is Salahuddin with lecture number 8 in the British history session. You might know that we have started a session, British history, and covering all the topics from the exam point of view, both in all competitive exams. In the previous lectures, we had a discussion on the Union of England and Scotland in lecture number 7. And today we will talk about George I. Here, the dynasty, the glorious revolution that happened in 1688 with the coming up William III and then Mary and Queen Anne whose reign lasted till 1714. And from 1714 there is a new turn in the history of England, and that new history is though they had the Act of Settlement, though they had passed the Bill of Rights, right? But how a person who is not belonging from the either of William III and Queen Anne and Mary, but still come to the throne of England. We will talk about the circumstances that led to the coming of George I to the throne of England. Basically, George I, who was the son of Sophia, and Sophia was the daughter son of James I, and she was the electress of Hanover. And Hanover is a state now called a small state in Germany, and they were Protestant by faith. Uh, at that time, George I saw a kind of situation, a crisis created. What kind of crisis created that led to the coming of George I? Crisis in a sense, Queen Anne had no childs, Mary had no childs, and William was already died in 1702. And the Queen Anne, who was the daughter of James II, but she was Protestant by faith. And thus Queen Anne came to the throne. It was decided in the Act of Settlement as well as in the Bill of Rights that Protestant shall come on the throne of England. Here now, after the death of Queen Anne, uh, there were no heir to the throne of England. So a situation created that who shall come to the throne of England, and they had no option. Uh, a kind of fear was there in the people of in the mind of people of the English people. The ancestors, even the heirs of the James II might not come back to the throne of England. Thus, they invited, the grandson of James I, who was the elder brother of James II, uh, known as George Levis, who was the prince at that time in Germany, in a small state in Germany known as Hanover, and he came to the throne of England. Uh, Thus, because of these circumstances, that there was no one to come to the throne of England. The earlier rulers, they were childless. They had nobody in inheritance to take off and come on the throne of England. Thus, he was supposed to come to the throne of England. Uh, how he came to the throne of England and what was the situation and what kind of problems did he face when he was coming to the throne of England. The Tory Party, they were against this accession of the coming of George I, whose real name is George Lewis, to the throne of England because they were in favor of the Stout dynasty, as we talked in the Bill of Rights. They were in favor of the Stout dynasty, and even Queen herself was also in favor of the Stout dynasty. Stout dynasty, that was the James I, James II, and their dynasty, of course, that were ruling before the 10th French Revolution. So both of them, the Tory party and Queen Anne herself, was in favor of a Stout dynasty to come to on the throne of England, but they could not succeed it. Why they could not succeed it? Though James II had a son known as James I, and he had some problems, some personal problems, which resulted in the impeded the way to come on the throne of England. We will talk about those problems. Why didn't he come on the throne of England? And of course, the failure in a sense that why the Stout again failed to come on the throne of England after the death of Queen Anne. And the first one was the James Edward, who was the son of James II. He was obstinate in his faith. He could not change his faith, and it was written in the Bill of Rights as well as in the Act of Settlement that the person who is coming on the throne of England, he must be either born in the colonies of England, or he must, and second, uh, he must be Protestant by faith. So this was this, and he was Papist by faith. Therefore, he could not change his faith in this obstinacy of his Edward James could not lead him to come on the throne of England. This was the first failure, that the Stout could not come on the throne back. Second was it was a clear violation of the Act of Settlement, and it was written in the Act of Settlement that the Protestants shall come on the throne of England. And thirdly, in the third important reason in the failure of the Stout dynasty was the Whig. They were more clever compared to the Tory party, and they had already got George Lewis, son of Sophia, nominated as the member of the House of Lords, and had got the permission of his stay in England. And this George I was the son of Sophia, and Sophia was the electress of Hanover in Germany. So the Whig were more clever in this sense, and they had concluded, and they had a treaty with Hanoverians, and thus they nominated the son of Sophia, known as George I, to come on the throne of England and become the king of England. So this is all about the George I coming to the throne of England. Now as his reign starts from 1714, of course, talking of George I. His reign starts from 1614. We will also talk about his personality, what kind of personality he had. Of course, the George I, he was his personality, his unattractive personality. He could not love by anybody, and of course, he was. It is very well remarked about his personality that his coldness would please his surrounding, and he was lazy in habits and no attraction in behavior, and he had no etiquettes and 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 and, 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 and in manners through which he could talk to people and through which he could carry on his day-to-day activities. So thus unattractive personality was the first character in the personality of George One, and secondly, lack of warmth and love. George One was a man of low calibers and loose character. By loose character, what do I mean? And he lacked natural warmth and love, and he kept even this could be understood from his the lack of warmth and love from his nature, that he kept his wife imprisoned for 30 long years until she died. So such a man came on the throne of England. So now you think what could be the state affairs of that time. And the thirdly, he had no interest in the English politics. Why? Because he was German and he had no understanding of the English people, he had no understanding of the culture, he had no understanding of the politics, and even above all these, he could not understand English. And at that time, when he came on the throne of England, he was about 54 years of age. So thus he could not learn English language, and he was not taking interest in the in the life of the people of English of the English people, and he could not take interest in the politics of England. So this was another defect in his personality. So most importantly, we also need to talk about his merits. And he had been despotic ruler in his country. In his country mean in England, but he never never tried to go beyond the constitutional limits, and those limits that were defined in the Act of Settlement. And also he fought in support of England in the War of Spanish Succession, and he was of course a very good soldier, and thus he could be merited on this on these points that George One was having. So this is all about George One's personality, accession of George One to the throne of England. Uh, Inshallah, in the next lecture, we will talk about the events that happened in the lifetime or in the tenure of George One, which is of course very important, and you must watch that video also. So thank you so much for watching the video.